Hi everyone, and welcome to Divinely Empowered with Antonia. Today we have Francesca Stutely, who does an interesting body work to do with breath and to do with trauma release. So welcome, Francesca.
Thank you, Antonia.
So Francesca and I met in Ibiza by the side of a pool, probably drinking cocktails.
Yeah, we were. Yeah.
Okay, so tell us about yourself, Francesca.
I live in Spain, and I've been doing this body work for a long time now, nearly 30 years. I discovered it in my 20s, and it really changed my life, changed the direction of my life, changed my body and changed my life, changed the way I think and feel. And we work with the subconscious body, so that's what attracted me. I wasn't comfortable in my own body, so I wanted, when I had a session, I had a really profound experience, and then I decided there and then I was going to learn it. So that works with the subconscious body. I also studied NLP later on to work with the subconscious mind, because I wanted to find out what's going on underneath what we present to the world. So it really,
so let's have two questions then. One, how would you describe the subconscious for those who don't know? And two, please tell us about your experience, which changed everything when you had the session. Thank you.
The subconscious. So we have a conscious level of being where we usually use our five senses, sometimes our sixth sense, but we're in the present moment, third dimension. We're going about our daily movements, and we feel what's going on. We're aware, so we're conscious. The subconscious, or the unconscious, same thing, is the part of ourselves that we don't know about, that we have questions about. Why do I feel like I feel? Why do I operate like this? It's the unknown. So what we get in touch with is the unknown part of ourselves. That's the that's how I would describe it. The bit that we don't know about, the bit that we've put away, forgotten about, suppressed, so that the bit we just don't know. So that this body work helps us get in touch with that. But the unconscious is, we're just not conscious of it. We don't know why. We don't know the why.
So it's our patterns and our behaviors, and we're not entirely, we just sort of go into robotic mode and do certain actions, then we wonder why the heck we've behaved in such a way.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah. And the second question, how did I get into it? What was my experience? I was in my 20s. I was in the States, in Berkeley, in California, and I didn't have a green card, so I looked after the kids, cleaned houses, and I was working for a lady, and she came home and she said to me, "I've had a massage," and I cried. I thought, wow, that must have been pretty interesting. So I booked up to have a session with this woman called Sarah Webb, and she did this session on a massage table. It's quite a soft touch, soft in parts and a little bit deeper in others, not like a massage where they have an agenda. She just put her hands on me, and I really was unconscious what she was doing. I thought what she doing didn't really feel like much. And then she asked me a couple of questions. For me, she said, "What are you running from?" I was running around the world, getting drunk. I couldn't run. I had terrible problems with my knees. I couldn't even walk. Arthritis from dysentery in India. And so I couldn't walk properly, let alone run. I'd always wanted to be a runner, an athlete. That had never happened. So that was kind of a broken dream. So when she said to me, "What are you running from?" I started crying, and I couldn't. And what I got in touch with was how angry I was. And I had no idea that I was angry. I just thought I was great and fine and all the rest of it. So when I got in touch with the anger, and underneath anger, of course, is sadness, I just could not stop crying for about an hour. And then afterwards, I walked down the street and I felt so at peace, because I'd released so much stuff which I didn't know was there, that I thought, I don't know what that was, but I'm going to learn it. So that was the first experience I had, and that's why I stayed. That's why I stayed in the States. Yeah. So
wow, that's fun.
Yeah. From touch, you just touched me. I thought, what's she doing? And you have a muscle that you're using, that you pick things up, and then you have a muscle that's relaxed. And when it's relaxed, we think it's deeply relaxed, but when you actually lie down, there can still be some holding, some tension in there, and that's what we work with.
Okay, so talk us through a session. How does it work then?
The session is for an hour. It's on a massage table. You're covered with blankets, sheets, whatever. You do wear your underwear, and we put our hands on, and we take a look at the body, at how the musculature lays on the skeleton. There can be humps and bumps. There can be different, most people lie down, you don't really notice it, but when you actually look, you can see where people hold We call it holding, or the muscle tension. We really have a look at where it's being held. And then we put our hands where that place is, and we wait. Basically, Marion say, put your hands on and wait. So we put our hands on and we reflect back to the muscles how they're holding themselves. So often when there's a tension, people are holding it and they don't even realize it. And what are you feeling? Oh, nothing, numb, can't feel it, not much. But after a while, it starts to soften. And then with the softening, with the letting go, we might ask a question. It might we take our time to really ask the right question. Kind of comes to us, what is going on with this person? Who is this person under our hands? We might ask a question. What is it? What does it feel like? Oh, I don't know. Oh, it feels this. Or I feel sad. It's all negative emotions that we hold on to. The happiness, the joy, the laughter, we feel it, it's in the moment, and then that's gone. But it's the stuff that we couldn't deal with, that we put away, that gets stuck in the muscles. Our issues are in our tissues. It's like, where are our feelings? Where is the stuckness? Where is the emotion? So that's what we work. We might stay for a while in the same place until there's a softening and then a realization or a connection with the feeling. And when you feel the feeling, that's when it softens and there's an opening and an aliveness.
So is it any muscle, or is it particularly the back, or is it where in the body is it, or how do you know which bits to work on?
Yeah, trauma can be held anywhere in the body, we believe. But we start working with a person face down and work on their back. We might work on their legs, but on their neck, and we do turn them over halfway through the set. But basically, we start with the back, and we work with the back of the diaphragm, because the diaphragm can hold a lot of tension. You know, when somebody's got shortness of breath, or they're having a panic attack, then the diaphragm tightens up. That's the one end of the scale. When you're relaxed, then the diaphragm is soft. So we work at the back. You can really get a sense of somebody with how much holding they've got in their back and their diaphragm, and the rhythm of the breath and how the breath moves. If there's no breath, or there's panicky breath, or there's angry breath, they feel slightly different under your hands. There's like when you're touching the unconscious body, there's like a different rhythm underneath the skin when you touch the held muscle. So that's how we work. So we work half on the front and half on the back, but it really and it can be anywhere on the body. The tension or trauma can be anywhere. Our hands can be led anywhere. We go to where the held muscle is or the tension is. Some people's bodies, when you lie down, they might have very small shoulders and then very big hips, or the other way around. You're like, what's that holding? What happened that they had to root themselves down in their hips, or their hips might feel stuck. And what happens in the physical feeling, I feel stuck, I feel tight, I feel it feels hard. What is tight or stuck or hard in your life? There's a connection between the physical holding and the emotions, the feelings.
So does people's body shape potentially change? You know, there's a whole pair. I mean, you just said the triangle, so the pear or the apple or the hourglass. Do people's bodies very wide hips and narrow shoulders? Can that be changed or over time, or how does that work?
I think that what your body type is, exactly what you've explained, stays the same. But I think where you hold your tension on that body can change. My body changed. I used to hold extra weight, and for mine, it was emotional. It's emotional holding. You know, when you're unhappy inside. Well, for me, it was eating. I used to eat too much until I was uncomfortable. Then you go into the guilt and the shame and everything else. But when you're eating too much, you're stuffing down your feelings. Or when you go to smoking or taking drugs or shopping or gambling or porn or something, it's going to something else to try and stuff down the feelings. But when you're in touch with your feelings, then you don't have to go to that drink or the alcohol or the cigarette or whatever you want to feel better. You can feel that peace inside. And that we're looking for is that you can feel peaceful inside and comfortable in their own body, because I never felt comfortable in my own body until I discovered this work. So in answer to your question, my body changed. Obviously, you can't change the skeletal structure of somebody, but you can change the way that the weight from my body changed because of the weight.
I wonder, just to counter that, are people's skeletal structures different if they're an apple or a pear or an hourglass? I would assume it wasn't skeletal. I would assume it was fat and muscles, and that's I don't know. I'm just querying.
I don't know either, Antonia.
I don't think so. I'm just thinking about skeletons that I've seen in school and skeletons you've seen around. They all seem to be pretty much the bloody same. No?
Yeah. Well, people's bones are bigger, but but you're right. A skeleton is a skeleton. I wonder, actually, if people's hips are bigger if it's skeletal.
I don't think so. And if you think about, the skeletons of someone who's morbidly obese as opposed to someone who's very slight, they are pretty much the same. They might, it's pretty much the same.
Exactly.
Your height obviously makes a difference, but I think that your weight doesn't. So I don't think it would be held differently.
Yeah, you're right. The skeletal structure changes, but the way that the muscle and the fat is distributed can change. Yeah, absolutely.
So I wonder so did this change your fat distribution then?
It did, and I want to let go of it. Yeah, I let go of weight.
Quite sudden. So you managed to have some quite quick weight loss after you've actually dealt with your emotions that you're holding on to.
I don't know if it was quick. It was before, because I was feeling more peaceful myself. I didn't overeat as much.
Right.
So I became more peaceful over a matter of time as well. And I wouldn't say, you're going to have it. Some people, with a session, you can suddenly get a realization. That's what I've been doing. I've been overeating or over drinking or overworking or whatever. And you can suddenly go, right, that's it. It makes you kind of click in. I'm not going to do whatever I'm doing before. It can change patterns. That it can happen like that. People can think, well, I'm not going to eat sugar anymore, and then that will create maybe a rapid weight loss. For me, it was. For other people, it can be overworking, pleasing other people, forever giving their energy away and pleasing other people. It gives you an opportunity. It gives the person an opportunity to stop doing what they're doing that they don't like, and it creates a space to who they really are. And that was a quote that Marion used to always say. Once it lets go of the things that you think you are, so that you can be the person you really are underneath it, or underneath the patterning and the conditioning. But we tend to hold on to these patterns and conditioning and programming from a young age. So it can be for people who've had awful trauma, to just people wanting to feel alive and more at peace with themselves and to be the person that they really meant to be. So, yeah.
What are some of the best healings that you've done on people? What are some of the most dramatic results that you've seen?
Most dramatic for me was a woman who was desperate to get pregnant. She tried all sorts of things. And I had a session with her, and I don't know what happened, and she doesn't know what happened, but she said she felt something release deep down in her female region, something released, and it felt like space for something else to come in. She became pregnant. She had a baby boy, and she couldn't believe it. That was really quite a profound session. Other people have, over time, it's very subtle. Sometimes it can be very quick. I know with your work, it's like bang, quick. It's like, boom, healed, which is great. I wish I could do that, but it can be.
You can. Right courses.
Yeah, I'm interested. Yeah. It's a very, very subtle. Sometimes people get off the table, they feel really relaxed, but they don't know what happened. But then the next day they might go and get the job that they wanted. It's like releasing old patterns and conditioning and things like that we've put away since we were a child. So it's the story that we give it. If you keep saying to a child, shut up, shut up, shut up, be quiet, silence, be quiet, or whatever, they get hit or something like that. And it goes to the other end of the spectrum, people being horribly abused. The body will create it will adjust to the environment that's in. It might make itself stronger or weaker or pathetic, the shoulders down or whatever. But it's just conditionings to what happened when they were younger. But when people connect with that, that's what happened, or instead of being angry, I'm going to let myself feel angry instead of acting out and being angry with the world, just to sit and be with the feeling of whatever it is, anger. When that releases, then that creates space for them to be who they really are, because we're not born angry, we're not born full of grief. We're not born with these things. They have become us because of our environment, and it's usually childhood stuff. So that's how it works, but it's very subtle and it's quite slow. But there again, people can have, you know, quick fixes, if you like. But
how many sessions do you have, or how does that normally work?
Well, people can come and have a session that changes them. It happened for me in one session, but then people can come. Some people come to me every couple of weeks or once a month, or I travel around a bit and go and see people maybe every 3 months or every 6 months. It's very different from a massage. Sometimes people think they're coming for a pamper massage, but it's not that at all. It's really sinking down and helping you get in touch with what's going on with you. Like sometimes people say to me, I don't feel right, I want to come and see you, because they don't know what's inside, you know, what's been bugging them. Oh yes, it's this or it's that, or it's any one of life's problems that they hold on to. You know, pain in the neck. Well, who's a pain in the neck? What's a pain in the neck? Pain in the bum. Who's a pain in the bum? What's my pain in the bum? What is it? You know, or people got stiff hips, not being able to move forward, or their knees, or you know, their arms hurt, they can't reach out. So it's all connected with how we feel and how we see the world, and what we've put away as well, what we've suppressed unconsciously.
So does it help with if you have knots in your back? Does it help with that? And does it help with flexibility? Yeah. So will it actually release knots? Because are knots just trapped emotions?
Yes, I would say yes. Yeah, knots with stiff muscles, tight muscles. Yes. So what we do is we stay in that place until there's a letting go. And sometimes we know what it is. Sometimes the muscle will let go, and then they feel they can breathe more deeply, and there's more oxygen in the blood, and they feel better, and the pain goes. They might know what it is that they were holding on to, or they might get an insight into what it is, and they may not. But yes, it can help with bad necks. And often people go to a chiropractor or whatever for the same reason over and over again. But until they, for me, what I believe, until they get in touch with the emotional connection with it, then it won't go. It will keep coming back, because it's just.
I mean, I agree with that, because it's similar in my work. It's the way that it was told to me and makes sense is if you go to, so say your spine is out of alignment. If you go to a chiropractor or a masseuse or somebody who then puts your spine back into alignment, what's happening is the reason it's out of alignment is because the muscles around are either too tight or too relaxed. And that means that over days, weeks, months, or whatever, because they're still too tight or too relaxed, that will then pull out to where it previously was. And until you're dealing with the tissue there and the traumas there, or whatever toxin it is, which is pulling the vertebrae into a funny place, then it will never be fixed.
Exactly.
So
yeah, it's like a temporary thing. After a massage, you feel great, but then it hasn't got to the root of the problem. So what we look for is that the root of the problem, you know. So you can never change what happened to somebody if they've had some awful experience. You can never change what happened to them, but what you do is change the way you look at that, and you can leave it in the past and feel the feelings that you couldn't feel at the time, so that you can release it.
Yeah, I've worked on people before with and actually myself, I had scoliosis, and I was using a different modality of healing, which I don't do very often now, called vibrational medicine. And we made this little remedies and stuck them 2 different points of my spine, and my scoliosis just unraveled, which was quite fun. Yeah.
It's kind of difficult for doctors to kind of understand that, but to you and I, it makes complete sense. You know, it does to me.
Well, it's when you've actually had personal experience of it, when you've seen it done, or when it's been done to you, then it's just, you know, all bets are off really with healing. It's just, there's so much out there which is possible that we don't have a clue about. It's just really beautiful, and it's a big adventure to find out more.
Yeah. I mean, I went to India when I was 21, and I got amoebic dysentery. I got Delhi belly that everybody gets, but mine was a little bit stronger. It was amoebic dysentery, and I was really, really ill. I was in hospital. I went to Bangkok. I was in hospital for a week, and then when I came out, I got on the plane to go to Australia, and my knees on the plane, my knees and my feet swelled up like grapefruits, and I couldn't stand up. They had to wheelchair me off the plane. It was really weird. Went to hospital in Sydney, and that I had reactive arthritis from food poisoning, and I went to all sorts of doctors, and they told me I'd end up in a wheelchair. And I think that was key for me to, when I was 21, I'd never been ill before. I think I'd have my tonsils out. For me, that was like, I cannot accept that. That's not me. That word arthritis is not me. And so I'm going to find another way. And that started me on my search to find out what it was. But with what you just mentioned, it's like there's so many different ways that you get to it that doesn't include drugs. I mean, I did take drugs, but they just made it worse.
Symptoms. The problem with drugs, pharmaceuticals, is that their job is to mask symptoms. It's not really trying to solve the problem. They're masking the symptoms, and symptoms are just our body's neon signs saying, "Hey, honey, there's something up. Hey, honey, there's something you need to deal with. There's some emotions here which are blocked." So masking them just means you end up getting another illness, which is just another neon sign telling you, "Hey, honey, something else is blocked." And if you end up working through all the different illnesses that people have, it all stems back to the same emotions that are unprocessed. Yeah, it's my experience.
Yeah, exactly. That's it. And that's, to you and I, that seems so simple. And yet, people go to doctors and asking doctors for an answer. It's really within us to heal. Our bodies can heal. We just need a bit of guidance to help us get there. So both your modality and mine seem to be able to get to the root of it, to see what it is. Yeah, it really changed my life. That changed me. I remember having some acupuncture in San Francisco, and had all the needles in, and they were hooked up to the wires, and had several sessions of that, which I couldn't tell at the time it was doing any good. But the bit I enjoyed the most was afterwards, when the girl came in and rubbed some oil on my legs and just touched my legs, for like 2-3 minutes, after lying there hooked up for about an hour. And I thought, it's just the touch. I want touch. I want to be touched, So that kind of started me, I guess, on asking the universe to send me some way towards touch. And that's when I discovered the Rosen.
I think touch is vital, and I don't think people have enough touch in their lives. And I think it's something which, especially since we had the pandemic, I mean, what was I reading? It was saying that we need at least 6 hugs a day to just be okay. I think it helps with pets. I think that is, I think hugs with pets counts. But I do think that it's one of the most, I think it's very depressing not to have any touch in your life, whether it's animals or with humans. And I think that we need it. Everybody needs touch to some degree every day.
Yeah. And I think that's what happens when we come out of the womb. The first thing you do is you're touched and you're hugged. And obviously there's loads of reports, if you don't get touched or hugged and you miss out on that human touch, that's when the problems start, of that disconnect, So often come across people like that on the table, that they've been disconnected or they just haven't had enough human contact. My thing at the moment seems to attract people who've been to boarding school, from such a young age. I'm sure it doesn't happen anymore, but 5, 6, 7 years old, it's so young to not have that connection with the people that are supposed to care for you. It's just that's another lack of communication with people, or connection. I think we all want connection. That's the thing. And this is a way of having connecting people to connect to themselves, because then when you can connect to yourself, then you can connect to other people. I'm not saying that all people in boarding schools can't connect with people. It's not true. It's just I've had a few people like that lately, but I think they go too young sometimes. But I don't think it happens anymore.
I think it still happens. I think it still happens.
Yes. Did you go to boarding school?
No, but my brother did.
Did he? Yeah. I wanted to go when I was about 14. I wanted to go. I think that's good.
I refused to go.
Yeah. So it's a really lovely way it's a very non-intrusive way. We don't manipulate the body. The body leads. Sometimes with a massage or a chiropractic thing, the body is manipulated, but actually when we put our hands on, the body leads. So we follow the breath around the body and then reflect back to it what it's doing to itself. And it's very subtle, but it's very, very deep. And people can have, a few tears, emotions on the table, and they often don't know why they're sad, which is fine. We just kind of let the tears flow, and then afterwards they feel a lot better and a lot freer. So yeah.
So does that help with flexibility? Does that change very much?
I think so, yeah, because when there's a lack of flexibility, it's the muscles that are tight around it. So when you soften the muscles, then it allows for more movement. And it's funny because then your life becomes flexible. Some people are very rigid in their minds, flexible body, flexible mind. I say that in yoga as well. Once you allow yourself to be more flexible, literally, you can change the way that you think, because we're all conditioned in the way that we think as well, from our upbringing or our environment or our religion. It's quite interesting working on people from different countries, different religions, how that affects how they hold themselves, or what they think, or how they think they should be. So it's really nice just to help people just connect to themselves. And at the end of the day, we're all human beings, no matter what religion or race or whatever, conditioning, cultural patterns. It's really nice for people to sink down and think, well, I don't have to be that way anymore. I don't have to conform to that way. Or I was so suppressed because of this or because of that, or a family culture, whatever rules there were in the family, people hold on to or react. It's our nervous system that we're dealing with. When people lie down and they're so tense and so tight, once they relax, then the nervous system lets go, and that's where the healing takes place. It can't do it. The body can't do it in fight or flight. So it has to be come down into, rest to digest.
So what happens with religions then? So what have you noticed from different religions?
Different religions, I think, take Catholicism, for instance. I'm Catholic, a lot of shame around sex, around sexuality, stuff like that. So people often have well, I shouldn't do this. I don't want to do, I want to do this, but I shouldn't. And well, why shouldn't you? So when people get in touch with, why shouldn't I? Or they've held a lot of shame for years. It's not their shame, it's the religion's shame, or it's a created shame. Or you can have shame that's in a family as well. So the religious thing can be from whatever people interpret, especially as children, be kind of indoctrinated into a certain way of thinking, whether it's cultural, family, or religion, or whatever, their school system. But it helps them see things from a different angle when they sink down and go, oh, that's what I've been doing. That's the beautiful thing, I think, when people think, oh, I've been holding on to that for years, or I thought I had to be a certain way, but actually I don't, or I'm not that person that everybody wanted me to be. Often we get the black sheep of the family, the people who didn't conform or well, I think I was, the rebel, who didn't feel right in their own family, or didn't conform to the way that they were supposed to. So it's really quite interesting how we hold that in the body. And for people to really realize as well, I've got a stiff neck, but why is that? Because I just don't want to, I didn't like what was going on around me, or something like that. It's the way that it's connected is really quite interesting. It's fascinating. And the thing is, we don't judge either. Even if I've got somebody on the table, it's like every single session is different. We have no agenda. So even if I've done a session on somebody, I don't know, the 10th time, and there's some anger or some sadness or some grief or something comes up, I still ask them, what's that about? They may know, they may not. And sometimes people say to me, well, my grandmother died or whatever. I'm like, yeah, I know that, but is that about this? Because it can be about something else, another layer underneath that they've forgotten about. And sometimes people come out with things, they just say things that tell me something that they haven't told anybody in 30 years. They're like, oh my God, a secret. Secret's really hard to keep. So, but when people actually say what was in there, they feels like, oh my God, I just feel better. I feel like I can breathe. I feel like I've got more space. It's fascinating what happens to the body once people let go of something that they've buried down. So it's about allowing the buried emotions, the suppressed emotions, the conditioning to come out, to give the person space and to feel more alive, basically. That's what it does.
So are there specific emotions for specific body parts that you found?
Ish, kind of. We often hold a lot of sadness in here, a lot of suppressing down, blocking. When you don't say something, the throat chakra gets blocked, comes down into the shoulders here. We kind of call them the sadness muscles. If someone's depressed as well, their shoulders drop. So we kind of call these the sadness muscles. The down the lower back, support. Where was your support? People's shoulders that are that have a whole lot of holding in them. If they got a lot of responsibility, you can look at somebody's back. It looks almost like they're wearing a backpack with the muscles that are tense either side of the spine. That can be, what are you holding on to? What's the backpack? What's the burden? So when you look, there are certain things that you can look at, but we never prejudge. Is that what is that? Is that what that is? Or is it just the way that they're holding that? But it's not this is this and this is this and this is this. It's not that specific. but we get a general idea. But when somebody lies on the table and they start to sink down, it's the breath that we watch and feel. First of all, just leave them for a minute, just to watch the breath, to see where it is, where it goes. And when you first learn it, you're like, well, they're breathing. You've got to really look where it goes and where it doesn't go. And when you ask a question, how the reaction in the breath can tell you whether it's true or not for the body. So that's quite interesting, is the body speaks the truth. Even if the brain doesn't quite get it, the body gets it first, which that the healing, the body starts to heal, and then the mind, oh yeah, that's what I'm doing, or that's what I'm feeling. So trauma can come out in different ways, and it can be a specific event, or it can be ongoing kind of, well, I never felt good enough, something like that. Trauma doesn't have to be that some horrible event happened to people. It can be just, I was never seen. I never had the opportunity to do what I wanted to do. And that, in a way, is that level B trauma. I think Gabor Mate talks about that. It's level 1, level 2 trauma. Trauma can be just not being who you are, as you weren't allowed the opportunity, or didn't give yourself the opportunity to be who you are or do what you want to do, which I find fascinating, because there's been obviously a lot of research into trauma lately, especially with his work. And the body the body speaks the score. Keeps the score. Thank you. That explains the Rosen Method down to a T. I think that the way that we put stuff away and forget about and carry on with our lives, we all function. Rosen Method's for healthy people, well people who just want to get rid of stuff that's buried in them that sometimes they don't even know about. So for me, it really caught me. It's still fascinating, even after doing it all these years, that I never know what's in there when my hands are on somebody. So the body really does keep the score, and it can let go of the scores and change the score as well, which is really lovely, because it changed the score for my body. I teach yoga now, and there's no way 30 years ago, the way I felt about my body, that I would have stood in front of people with a pair of lycra tights and lycra leggings on, not a pantomime, and could walk around and could first of all demonstrate or do videos, and then to help people as well. It's really that side of things has really helped me as well as confidence. So
beautiful. So have you got anything coming up? Any offerings?
We have some retreats coming up in May. I have in Spain. I live in Spain, so got 2 retreats in May, and then I do private retreats as well for people. Sometimes I go to their house if you've got a small group of friends, 4, 5, 6 friends, to do yoga and to do the Rosen Method. And I'm doing an introductory workshop in London on the 2nd and 3rd of March coming up, because I'm going to start
2024.
Yeah, exactly, 2024. Yeah, but that's coming up soon. And also, I'm starting to teach the Rosen Method as well. So I'll be setting up introductory workshops here in Spain as well, in the sun. So that's what's coming up. And I'm on Instagram and Facebook as well, and my website, which is my name, francescastutely.com. So come and have a session. And there are practitioners in. I go backwards and forwards to London, and I travel around a little bit. But there is the London Rosen Institute, which has a list of practitioners, so all over the country. So there's not many of us, because the training takes a long time. It took me 4 years. It takes a time to work on yourself and to let go of your stuff, and then they actually kind of teach you the technique as you go along. But it takes a while for you to really let go of your own things, so that you can really be with somebody in the present moment when you're working.
Wow, that's interesting. So any closing words? What words of wisdom you'd like to share?
Just to give yourself the opportunity to be yourself, to really don't think this is it, with whatever body or whichever mind, the way you think, that there is always a way that you can. We're always healing, we're always learning. So go ahead and go and find out more about yourself. I think that's the biggest thing, is to do the work on yourself, and then that'll affect everybody around you and affect every area of your life. So yes.
Lovely. Thank you. Yes, it's been very interesting. So check her out the website, which is just below, running right now. And thank you so much for coming on my show and telling me all about your techniques.
Yeah, thank you, Antonia. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.